What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's Low Budget Spyder Rider. Before I get into the video, I'd like to take this time to thank all of my current and new subscribers. I really appreciate your support. Appreciate you tuning in to watch the content that I post. Most importantly, keep those comments coming. I really enjoy interacting with all of you, especially the feedback that you've been giving me. I want to be able to continue to bring you engaging content that you'll want to watch. All right, let's get to it. So I bought my Spyder back in July of this year. I traded in my 2015 Can-Am Spyder RT Special Edition. After about 3 days of ownership and about 68 miles on the bike, I began to have an intermittent issue where the bike would display a fault code saying that there was an issue with the hydraulic control module. This ultimately led to me having issues shifting the bike into gear. At that point, I made the decision to just park the bike, contact the dealership, and make them aware of what was going on to prevent further damage to the bike. This is going to bring me to my first talking point. It's very, very important that either prior to making your purchase or immediately after making your purchase that you familiarize yourself with the warranty or whatever service agreement you may have in place with the dealership you made the purchase from. I know when we first buy the bike, we're all excited. We're in the finance manager's office signing paperwork. We're going through the paperwork, barely reading over things because we just want the keys so we can get out and ride as soon as possible. And that's totally understandable. But at some point, you need to familiarize yourself with your service contract or warranty, because it's not a matter of if, it's more of a matter of when something goes wrong. You're going to know what you're required to do, what the dealership is going to be required to do, and ultimately what the manufacturer is going to be required to do, especially if it's going to be a warranty claim. Now, we all know when you buy a new Spyder, no matter what platform you buy, you're going to get 2 years of coverage from BRP. To add to that 2 years of coverage, I did opt to purchase the additional 3 years of coverage. And I did this because my goal for me, I know everybody differs on whether or not to get the service warranty or not. My goal for me was to give myself 5 years of trouble-free ownership. And even if I decide to trade this bike in or sell it sooner, there's value in having that warranty, and it adds value to the bike because it is transferable to the new owner. Which is going to bring me to my first talking point. It's also important that prior to making your purchase or immediately after, that you start having dialogue with the service department at the particular dealership that you bought your bike from. Now, in my case, I did it before I bought the bike because mainly I wanted to understand what type of issues are they seeing with this RT platform. If I were to have an issue with my Spyder, how long would it take them to get my bike in for service and to get it back to me? I wanted to have this information before I sat down and signed paperwork to make that purchase, because I might want to make the decision to either purchase the bike from them or go to a different dealership to make the purchase that's going to be able to service my bike a lot quicker. Because it's important to know, do you just drop the bike off or do you have to make an appointment? Nobody wants to just have their bike sitting at the dealership for weeks to months at a time with nothing being done to it. I'd rather make the appointment and be able to just bring it in on the appointment date, especially with this being a new purchase. I had a box of mods sitting at home in the basement that I wanted to get installed on the bike as soon as possible. I did stay with my dealership, even though I would be required to leave the bike there. And I was told by the service manager it would probably take them a week to a week and a half before they could even look at it to tell me what was wrong. When my bike was taken in here in Michigan, July is the peak of the riding season here. So you can imagine how busy the service department was with various power sports products that were in there to be serviced. I left the bike there. About a week and a half later, they called me and told me that they had started the troubleshooting process. They had already taken the first step to try to resolve it by draining the oil, doing the engine flush, and changing the filter to remove any contaminants that may have gotten into the engine as a result of the manufacturing process and me riding the bike and the parts breaking in. They did that, and the bike still exhibited the same issue. It was throwing a fault code saying that there was a low pressure issue within the hydraulic control module. The service tech then advised me that they would probably have to change that module out, but before they could change that module, they would have to contact BRP to escalate my issue to a warranty claim, to ultimately have BRP send out a replacement part and also pay for the labor. For the labor, my dealership charges $155 an hour. $155 an hour to troubleshoot this bike, to tell me what's wrong with it before we even get into how much it would cost to make that repair. Which is going to take me to my next talking point. You want to contact BRP as soon as possible to make them aware of the issues that you're having with your Spyder. You want to get them involved. You want to get them talking with the dealership as soon as possible to cut down on whatever lead time it's going to take to get your claim approved, to get parts shipped out, so the dealership can start working on your Spyder as soon as possible. I waited a little bit and it probably added some unnecessary wait time on it. But once I did contact BRP, they were very understanding of the issue that I was having. They escalated my issue up to a senior customer service rep as soon as possible that was going to be able to make the decisions that I needed made regarding my Spyder. My biggest issue was my Spyder sitting at this dealership, and then we're getting closer to my first payment being due. I wanted to know what things they had in place to reimburse me for my loss, or if the decision would ultimately be made, since this was 3 days into this purchase, to either A, not fix this bike, or B, allow me to select a different Spyder on the floor. My dealership only had one Sea-To-Sky left in stock, so ultimately I would have to decide between the limited or the base model RT that they had, which not a big deal. We all know the only difference between the Sea-To-Sky and the limited is really going to be the comfort seat, the driver's backrest, the Highway 99 badging, and the rear backup camera. For me, as long as the dealership was willing to provide me with those items on the limited, I would accept the limited in exchange for my Sea-To-Sky. Oh, and the color match top. I do take my top trunk off. I do ride with the color match top on it at times. I know some people don't take the top off and don't really care for the color match top, but I do use it. I know in the 2026 models, they're offering the bike cover in Louis other top, which is probably a better option for most. But I do use the color match top, so the dealership was willing to provide that too, had I had to select a different bike to go with. And then this kind of segues into my next talking point. Because I financed my Spyder, I did reach out to the financial institution that I used to finance the bike. I went through Sheffield Financial, which does a lot of financing for BRP. I spoke with the customer service rep there also to see what my options would be if I opted to just stick with my current Spyder. If they still had the bike when my first payment was due, would I still have to make the first payment? Was there some type of deferment option until I actually took possession of the bike? What would my options be to when I transferred the financing from the existing bike to a different bike? What steps would I have to do, and what amount of time would I have to do them in? I was advised that I could, if I kept the current Spyder, I could defer my first payment until I got the bike. They would allow me to defer that payment without penalty. Or if I decided to transition to a different Spyder, I would have 30 days for the dealership to make the switch because the paperwork had not been processed yet. I could still do it after 30 days. It would just be a little bit more complicated. It's very important that you empower yourself as much as possible when you're dealing with this type of issue so you can decide what to do. Most importantly, you want to make sure you document everything that you have done from the time you dropped the bike off to make the dealership aware of the problem, who you called, when you called, who you spoke to, what promises were made. Get things in writing. If they give you a repair time when they're going to have it back, ask them to put it in writing. Get everything in writing, because this is going to be important. If for whatever reason you reach an impasse where you're not able to reach some type of resolution with BRP to get your product repaired, and you have to go to mediation, which is something that you're entitled to under the warranty, you can have everything documented. You can present it to that mediator, that magistrate, or that judge to hopefully help get things ruled in your favor. So document everything. Stay in constant contact with your service advisor or the service manager so you can have a complete understanding of where things are in the repair process and what's being done. The last thing you want is for your bike to be just sitting there and nothing happening, and weeks and months go by, only to be told, well, there's nothing we can do at this point, so we're not sure what to do next. Nobody wants to hear that. In my case, I did opt to stick with my Spyder. The service advisor assured me that once they replaced the hydraulic control module, I shouldn't have any issues after that. I was also given an opportunity to come into the dealership once they got the bike in for service, and once they broke it down, to take a look at everything, to speak with the service tech about what caused the failure and what it was going to take to repair the failure. I did attach some pictures to the video so you can see how this Spyder looks when they had the throttle side of the bike completely stripped down. It was a very informative experience. I learned a lot about my Spyder during that time, especially why the module failed. It failed due to a manufacturing defect from the supplier of that part. A piece of plastic inside the module broke off, caused one of the valves to get stuck open, which ultimately prevented the bike or the module from sending oil through the bike properly. It took them about 3 days to complete the repair. Once they got the repair done, they did take it out for a quality inspection ride, as well as they had to do some adjustments to the ECU module by hooking it up to the computer. My bike was detailed. It was returned to me. I think the most amazing thing through this whole process, and this is why it's important to have some type of working relationship with the dealership you bought your bike from, is at some point during this, I think it was like 3 weeks into the process, they did provide me with a demo bike that they had that I could ride until my bike was ready. And that demo bike ended up being a 2023 Can-Am Spyder F3. I never had a chance to ride an F3 before, so it was nice to kind of see the differences between the two platforms. I really enjoyed my time with that bike. I got a couple of long rides in on that bike, but ultimately I was very happy with my decision to go with the RT that I bought. That's it. At the end of the day, hopefully none of you have any major issues with your Spyder. I hope I don't have any more problems with mine, but if you do, hopefully some of the tips that I gave you will help make it a little bit easier to get through. At the end of the day, I still have a lot of faith in this bike. I have no regrets about my purchase. I would definitely buy this bike again 3 times over. It is wintertime here in Michigan, so unfortunately right now I'm not able to ride. But I'm definitely looking forward to next season being able to get a lot more ride in and enjoy my purchase. That's all I got for you. If you like today's video, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please leave those comments. Remember, live for the experience, and definitely enjoy the ride. Peace.